Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 256. Today is the 2nd of October, 2019. This is the first Hump Day Hangouts for October. And we have got some good stuff to go over today. Just wanted to do a quick announcement, and then we're going to say hi to everybody, let you guys know about some upcoming cool stuff, and then dive into the questions. So if you're watching and haven't asked your question yet, please do. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you head over to semanticmastery.com/HD questions and ask your questions there. That's where we're actually monitoring for questions. But other than that, just wanted to say, first of all, thanks for being here. If this is your first time watching, whether you're watching live or catching the replay, you are in the right place. So thanks for joining us. Just remember to always go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions. And that's where you want to pop your questions on, get them answered, whether it's live or as a replay. So real quick, I'm going to go around the board here and we're going to say hello to everybody. Bradley, how's it going?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Excited. I got my Tofu Live shirt on. I was actually working on my presentation today. I spent the better part of most of today working on it. So I'm kind of excited to.
Now, wait a second. That says 2019. Did Tofu Live 2019 already happen?
No, but it's going to next week.
Outstanding. Yeah, October 11th to 13th. So you've been, you were working on your presentation today. I think you've talked about it a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's
told people.
When I grab the screen to start questions, I'll just do a quick tease of it. But it's about holistic marketing, which holistic marketing is an actual thing, and I didn't realize that until I started to create my presentation. I mean, I'd heard the term before, which I understand what holistic means, right? It means like an all-encompassing, like from all angles type thing. And so when I started to develop my presentation for what I have determined what holistic marketing is and what I've been able to see by combining both offline and online and different types of marketing methods, and it creates an overall better digital presence and it's branding, essentially, the way that I think of it. Holistic marketing is about building a brand and brand recognition, brand awareness, that kind of thing. And so anyways, when I started my presentation, I actually did a quick search for holistic marketing, and damn if that's not an actual valid, like a term. It's been defined several different ways, but I found a specific definition that aligns with my opinion of what his holistic marketing is. And so I actually included that in my presentation. But it's just very, very powerful strategy that I've been fortunate enough to witness with my own business over the last several months, my real estate business. And I kind of just stumbled across this from developing that or building that business and starting with an offline marketing approach instead of online. And it really like opened my eyes to the power of using a combination of all different types of marketing methods instead of just focusing on digital, that's all I've done for the last 10 years, essentially. And it was interesting because I started to implement that. I wanted to see if it could be as powerful for some of my clients as it was for me. So I pitched now 3 of my clients on it. And I've got 3 clients signed up for several additional marketing services beyond digital marketing, and seen incredible, consistent results with them as well. And so that's part of what I'm going to be teaching about at Tofu Live next week.
Awesome. All right. Next on the screen here for me, at least, is Chris. How's it going, man?
Doing good. I just realized it's 1 week. Damn.
Yeah.
Only 1 week. Yeah. Good to
9
see.
days.
Like, looking forward to see everybody there then. Can't wait. Weather is kind of like odd at the moment. We are heading into autumn here, and I have a slight storm brewing outside at the moment. So.
Fair enough. I'm actually looking at Denver right now, but while I do that, Hernan, how are you doing, man?
It's always sunny in Denver.
It's always sunny in Denver. I'm really good. I'm really excited for Tofu Live. Excited to have the meeting with you guys next week as well, and the week after that. We always come up with good stuff coming up for Semantic Mastery. So excited for the event. A lot of good stuff, but also to meet you guys. So happy to be here.
Good deal. All right. Last but not least, Marco, how you doing today?
I'm always good, man.
How's the weather down there?
It's always good.
And he's back
from vacation. I'm back. I'm energized, but I'm still trying to catch up on last week. Being away for a week isn't all that good. In that sense, right? It was great. I tuned out, turned off the cell phone, left the laptop at home. So I enjoyed the sun, the beach, the pool, food. The surroundings. We were in the middle of the jungle, so it was great. Great way to unplug and just enjoy. Look, why get on the path to POFU if you can't stop once in a while and enjoy it, right? Enjoy the fruits of your labor. You have to do that. It gets you re-energized. It gets you thinking sometimes differently. You come up with all kinds of ideas. So it was fun. And now it's time to get back to the grind.
Good deal, man. Well, this is good. I'm going to call a quick audible here. We're going to take 30 seconds. I just want to go around real quick. If everyone wants to say something, what do you do outside of, whether it's consulting, Semantic Mastery? What is something like, what are you doing this all for? I know Bradley talks about his, but Bradley, I'm just going to go around real quick. What do you do for fun outside of this stuff?
Well, when I don't have, I get my daughter every other weekend. And so when I have her, I spend time with her. And right now it's all about softball because she's in like a million softball teams. And anyways, it's crazy. But, outside of that, I enjoy riding ATVs. So I've got several machines and I enjoy working on them when I'm not riding. And I go on camping trips with like ATV riding trips where we go camping for the weekend with a group of guys or a group of people. Really, there's women involved too. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's that's my escape, And so I don't take the week vacations. It's very rare that I take a week vacation, but I do often take weekend vacations. So.
Nice. Chris, how about yourself?
He's muted.
All right, we'll come back to Chris. Hernan, how about yourself, man? What do you do besides
all good.
This stuff?
Sorry.
Oh, all right, Chris is here.
Yeah, for me, surfing, snowboarding, hiking, hitting the gym, droning if there's like good weather, and especially if I'm out in Thailand and stuff. And definitely not worrying about the latest Google update like we've seen a couple posts this week.
Fair enough, man. Hernan, how about yourself? We are technically challenged today. All right, skipping you. Marco, how about you? I think you kind of talked about it, but what's something you like doing outside of this?
Well, I have a 10-year-old, soon to be 11, a 7-year-old, soon to be 8, and an 11-month-old, soon to be 1. All their birthdays are in second week of October. Right, so I got that coming up. But outside of that, I'm with my family, man. Yeah. I'm with when you have kids that young, you do nothing without them. And I mean, it's literally there's hardly anything that you can do because we don't like babysitters, we don't like any of that stuff. So we take care of our children. It's one of the reasons why I love working from home because I'm available to do whatever is needed. But yeah, I mean, and I'm loving being a dad. I mean, I've always, since my first daughter was born almost 11 years ago, I love being a dad and I love my family and I have a great time with them.
Nice. Well, I think everyone's heard mine a few times, but I love trail running. That's my thing. Love it. So try to get there as much as I can and get out, hike and trail run and whatnot. So Hernan, how about you? Are you there yet or you still muted? Still muted. All right. Well, we're moving on. So just wanted to give everybody a little glimpse. Like this is some of the stuff why we do what we do, right? It's not all about work. You got to also enjoy it. You can't take money with you when you leave. So you might as well enjoy what you're doing now.
That's right.
And take some time for yourself and your family and what you love doing. So real quick, wanted to say, first of all, like I said, when we started, if you're new to Semantic Mastery, that's awesome. Thanks for watching us. You're in the right place. This is a place you should come every week. If you got questions, if we don't know the answer, we will certainly point you in the right direction. But between all of us, we generally can at least get you started down the right path and hopefully give you the answers you need, whether it's, to improve your rankings, whether it's to get better results, get some clients, whatever it may be. But the next step, if you want to get our step-by-step processes for everything from dealing with new websites, age domains, YouTube channels, whatever it is, then I highly suggest you pick up the battle plan. If you're live with us, you can pick that up on the link to the side, or you can just go to battleplan.semanticmastery.com. And if you're already there, you already got some clients, you're already looking at building that recurring income and looking to grow and form that network with other people who are doing the same thing, then, the place you want to do that is in an experienced community with fast access to real world info. And that would be the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. And go check that out at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And no matter where you're at, we got started telling people how, here's how we do a lot of what we do. Here's how we build what we build. And eventually, people came to us and said, hey, can you do this for us? We're like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, well, that makes sense. That's what we're doing. We're hiring VAs to do the stuff we teach. And that's where MGYB.co came from. And it's expanded from there. But if you want to save time and, either for your own projects or your clients' projects, go over there. You can get syndication networks, ROS, drive stacks, press releases, link packages, embeds, lots of cool stuff rolling out over there. And last but not least, subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you are checking this out on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. Stay up to date with the weekly Hump Day Hangouts, as well as other videos that we post. With that said, I know, Bradley, you were going to talk real quick, I think, about your talk at PoFu Live, and then anything else we need to cover before we hop in.
No, that's it. Let's get right into questions.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and grab the screen. You guys confirm that you're seeing my screen?
Got it.
Okay. So holistic marketing for branding and business growth is what I'm going to be talking about. And this is the definition that I found that I think most closely aligns with what my interpretation of holistic marketing is, or what my opinion of it is. So Philip Kotler, I think, a marketing professor at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, defines holistic marketing as: holistic marketing is based on the development, design, and implementation of marketing programs, processes, and activities that recognize their breadth and interdependencies. Holistic marketing recognizes that everything matters with marketing and that a broad integrated perspective is necessary to attain the best solution. So my interpretation of that is holistic marketing is combining multiple channels, various digital plus traditional plus offline methods to produce a significant increase in brand awareness and recognition for a company, thus increasing market share across the board. And the result is that a brand is sought by prospects. And I've seen that firsthand now with my own business, as well as 3 clients of mine that I've started to implement holistic marketing approach to their businesses. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about and going into more detail about specific methods and resources, and showing some results of examples for the businesses that I've applied this to, and why I think this is really the best way to go forward with marketing, as opposed to always just focusing on digital marketing, which is what I've done for years. I see that there's a real benefit to building brand awareness, more so now than I think ever before. So that was it. With that, let's get into questions. If you guys have any questions, please post them. We've only got a few so far. A couple of them are in depth, so we're going to get right into those. Looks like the first one is Muhammad. What's up, Muhammad? Looks like he's here too. He says, hey guys, a real estate client asked me, I previewed this question earlier, Muhammad, and I have a pretty good idea of a few things that you can do for this. So I'll finish reading. He says, hey guys, a real estate client asked me about what we can do to make individual home listings appear higher in the SERPs for our website. Apparently in his city, it's popular for people to search for a home by its address, like 123 Main Street. The idea is that his page for 123 Main Street would appear on top of rival brokerages, even though they're the same home. What could I do to make this client's home listing pages rank higher for a specific address? Well, there's 2 things that I would recommend, and then I'd like to get some other people's opinions as well. But the first one isn't necessarily, well, neither one of the ones that I'm going to suggest are actually ranking the website itself higher, but you can drive traffic back to the website. You can also make sure that your client is getting the lead, right? Which would be the realtor, I guess. Number 1 would be YouTube videos. The last time I tried this for real estate listings, it worked really, really well. As if you could do some sort of YouTube video to drive traffic back to the listing that you want, the listing page on your client's website, because they typically rank very, very well. That said, it's a Google property, right? So why not embed your client's page in a Google site page, right? So you could have, like, for example, if you're doing a drive stack for your client, which I'm sure, Mohammed, you already have a G site for that drive stack for that client that's branded after that client. So why not create separate pages and then embed, just iframe your client's web page into that page, right? And optimize that G site page for it, because it's a Google site. It will likely rank very, very quickly. And remember, you can do some nasty stuff to it to help it to rank. So that would be my 2 kind of little tricks to help you get better results very, very quickly. What would you guys say? Anybody want to comment?
No, I totally agree with that. A YouTube video is perfect and it drives traffic. The video stuff, you can also, do what we recommend, which is running ads to that video, right? Targeted ads to get that kick in. He can run it to the embed page, which has the video on it, and then he's going to power up the page on the G site, which will then benefit everything. this is something that most people don't understand, and that's the power of that G site plus drive stack. It's not just good for pushing power elsewhere, right? Everything that happens on that page, it's a Google property. And so regardless of what anybody says, our tests show time and again that they get special treatment for whatever it is. We don't care the reason, right? And we don't care if it's a result of something else that's happening. We don't care. We just know that it happens. And so benefit from that drive stack and G site. And then you can push that benefit elsewhere, or take the power from YouTube, add it to that G stack, and then push that elsewhere. There's so many ways. And I keep talking about this, like in RYS, when people ask me for advice, that the possibilities that when you start thinking this way and stacking and iframing and running that type of project, is that the possibilities become endless on how much power you can actually push to this. And since nobody else is doing it, I mean, think about it. Competition becomes nothing, simply because they don't do what you're capable of doing.
Agreed. Adam, you had unmuted yourself. Were you going to comment?
Yeah, pretty much just the same thing. I really like the idea of using the YouTube video, obviously for the ease, just getting some videos either made or, cranking out a few. And then I really liked Marco's idea, adding on to that about running some targeted geo traffic to that. So yeah, just really like those ideas.
Yeah, and think about that. If you have a YouTube video, not only can you rank that, but you can embed that in the G site page as well, maybe below your iframed listing page, right? And then run ads to it, and that'll help that G page to rank as well, because it's going to be getting targeted traffic. And remember, you can buy targeted traffic, Mohammed, from YouTube, from Google Ads, because you can use geo-targeting, so you get very specific geo-targeted IP like clicks from IPs that are geo-targeted or within a specific geographic range. Plus, you can buy, and I know for sure because I'm doing real estate stuff now, you can buy in-market audience targeting for people that are looking to purchase a house. So looking for residential housing for sale, right? So again, you can buy incredibly targeted traffic, which is going to help it to rank. And not only that, but remember, you'll be pushing traffic to relevant traffic from people that may be genuinely interested in that too. So you could very well generate leads from that traffic, not just as an SEO tactic. That makes sense. So it was a good question though. Okay, Jenia's up, says, it's been a while. Have been swamped applying the knowledge from your incredible money producing courses. Thanks. Got time for a quick advice? We sure do. You know we do. He says, got a new client whose GMB is controlled by an ex-partner with whom they've parted ways, embezzlement charges. What, in your opinion, would be the best way to get control over their GMB? Contacting their ex-partner is not an option. It does not have much value at this time, just 3 to 4 positive reviews with 1 negative that the ex-partner left. Is there a way to just cancel it and start fresh? Any negative effect from that? They have moved into a different unit, same building, and kept the same number. Thank you in advance, Jenia. Yeah, I've experienced something similar to this, and on several occasions, I would contact GMB support, Google My Business support, because if you contact them and explain what the situation is, and you can do it via email. Typically, you can do it. I prefer to do it over the phone, and what they'll do is they'll kind of guide you through what needs to be done. They may tell you that you need to send them an email with it kind of explained. What happens is if you contact GMB support and tell them, like, there was a partner or an ex-employee, whatever the case is, that had originally created the Google or claimed the Google My Business profile, and they're no longer with the company, and we need to get access to it, then what they'll do is they'll require verification. And the way that I've had it done on multiple occasions, like I said, is where they'll require verification by postcard, or excuse me, not postcard, sending them, scanning or taking photos and sending support or scanning in documents that show the business receiving mail at that new address, at the new location. In other words, like a utility bill, for example, a phone bill, a gas bill, an electric bill, anything like that, anything at all that shows that, it's official, some sort of bill to that billing address addressed to that company at that new billing address. So that way, and it usually within 24 hours after producing those documents, you'll get the GMB reassigned to the new account, whatever account it is that you designate. So that's what I would do. I've done that in multiple cases. In fact, for local GMB Pro, the very first, when I was doing a case study for a taxi company in Charlottesville, Virginia, and that's how I had to start that whole process with them, because it was the same thing. He had an ex-partner that, it was the exact same situation. He had an ex-partner that originated the GMB. That was unoptimized. It was claimed, but it was unoptimized, and we had no way of accessing it and no way of getting in contact with the ex-partner. So I had to go through that exact same process that I'm talking about. And within, I mean, it took like a total of 3 days, but it was within 24 hours of sending in scanned copies or photocopies, photographed copies of his, I think he sent his business license in because it was addressed from the county directly to the new address. And they actually transferred it into the Gmail address that I had set up specifically to take ownership of it. So that's all you really have to do. It's really not that difficult. The reason I say that you should probably do that is because if there has ever been any sort of citation work done, like external stuff done, NAP mentions essentially, then it's better to just claim or reassign the existing listing than it is to try to cancel that or mark it permanently closed and then create a new one, because that will cause ambiguation. So it'll be harder to get results as quickly if you try to mark one as permanently closed and then open another one that's pretty much the same brand name. You said it's the same building, just a different unit number, the same phone number. That's going to cause ambiguation. So you're much better off getting that one reassigned, and then doing from there you can do some citation cleanup stuff if needed. Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? Fair enough.
Yep.
Gordon's up next. He says, "Hey guys, thank you very much again for the great help you provide everyone on Hump Days." You're welcome, Gordon. I know that the NAP info on a GMB listing has to be the exact same as it is on the other directory sites, etc. But does the website URL fall under the same umbrella as the NAP? In other words, so he's talking about name, address, phone number, guys. In other words, can you change the website URL for a business on a GMB listing without making the same change on all citations and have the change negatively affect the GMB ranking? Technically, yes, because the URL is also part of the, I know it's not, it's NAP, right? We talk about name, address, phone number, but a URL is part of that. It's like the fourth data point. However, that said, there's a lot of directories that don't actually show the URL, right? It's just name, address, phone number. So it's, in my opinion, it's less important. It's still good to try to keep your data consistent in all cases, but I can tell you for certain that I have used a different domain that had redirects before and experienced a little to no negative effect from that, if that makes sense. Excuse me. So I think the name, address, and phone number part of those is more important. But yeah, I mean, to be clear, I can't guarantee you that if you change the URL, it's not going to create an issue. I'm assuming you don't, either the URL expired or you're trying to use a different URL to protect yourself or for tracking purposes. I mean, I'm just making those assumptions, but if you still have access to the existing URL or the original URL, then set up a redirect to the new URL. That's what I'm saying. Like I've changed the URL because we've changed domains for an existing client, right? For example, I've got a preschool client that we changed the domain entirely for them. And he had 2 locations that were in existence. They had a handful of citations already done, a couple dozen or whatever for each location. But when he hired me, I suggested that we do a domain change and set up the individual locations on subdomains. So what we did was we kept the original domains for each one of the separate locations because they each had their own domain. It was over optimized. Anyways, we kept the original domains and we just redirected those to each appropriate subdomain for the new domain with the location specific subdomains. And we didn't have to go clean up all the existing citations because that's the only thing that changed was the domain. All the other information stayed the same. And since we had done a redirect, it didn't cause any negative issue. In fact, I was able to rank that. Those were the two. That was one of the clients that I was applying the local PR Pro method to when I was testing or developing that method. And we were able to rank both of those locations very, very quickly using primarily just press releases. And it didn't have any effect. having the original domain redirected to the new domain didn't cause any negative NAP effect. But that's what I would suggest if you have access to it. If you don't and you can't redirect it, then you may have to go out and do a citation cleanup job. I'd go ahead and just pull the trigger. You're going to have to do it anyways and see what happens. If it causes a negative effect, then I would immediately hire Logix to do a citation cleanup service. If there's, you know, more than a couple dozen citations, Logix is the best service I know of for that. Anybody want to comment on that?
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay. You guys are quiet today. Marco, anything you want to add to that?
No, that was good. So
okay.
I don't feel there's any need for me to add a comment.
All right. So Katie's up. He says, hey guys, I'm trying to incorporate MGYB. Oh, this is a good question. We need to get Rob on these sometimes. Says, hey guys, I'm trying to incorporate MGYB services into my client budget proposals, but need some clarity to move forward. How long does it generally take for a blast of MGYB Web 2.0 links to fall out of the index? What is the minimum purchase frequency for them to be safe and effective? Would it be okay to use one nitro link package every 2 to 3 months on an age site with moderately high competition? Okay, so I'm going to kind of answer that as all one question. I don't know how often they fall out of the index because I don't go check them that often. In fact, I never check them at all. Once I order a link building package, I will send it to indexing, and that's it. I forget about it. I don't go check on them. So what I recommend, you said one nitro package every 2 to 3 months on for an age site. Would that be beneficial or would that work? And I would say yes. I'm anxious to hear Marco's opinion on this as well, but I would say yes, because that's about what I do, is about every 3 months or so. And it depends. If it's something more competitive or it needs additional push, I might do it more frequently, like once every other month, but typically it's about once every 3 months. And what I'll do is, and I know a part of your next question is about embeds, the same thing, doing embed gigs. So I'll do an embed gig on like an ID page, or an entity loop page is another way to call it, or the G site, or the Google Maps GMB map if it's for a local business, or a combination of all three of those, right? You can order one embed gig and include all three of those as embeds in that one gig, and then supplement that with a link building package to the embed pages. In other words, the pages that get created in the embed gig, then you link build to that. So that'd be 1 month, right? Then maybe the next month it'll be a link building package to the drive stacks, or and like all the URLs in the drive stack, as well as the G site, or the ad ID page, or the GMB business site, for example, the .business.site, and then just cycle through that, right? Same thing with, all of your entity properties that you have, like, and we talk about this with what we call entity stacking, taking all those tier 1 assets that are high authority type sites that you can build links directly to and using those. So you just kind of cycle through the stuff, if that makes sense. So like, again, not money site. We don't ever build links directly to the money site, but we'll do like an embed package with links 1 month. The next month I'll do the drive stack and G site. The next month with links to that. The next month I might do some of the other top level entity assets, an ad ID page, for example, or a entity loop page, press advantage organization page, that kind of stuff. And then the the fourth month, I would cycle back to embeds, if that makes sense. So I just get it into a rotating schedule, and I include the cost of that plus my markup into my monthly retainer fee that I quote a client on, so that I have that money available every single month to continue pushing the assets, if that makes sense. So that's what I do.
I'm going to say, and let me just make sure I have this right. And I'm going to say, no, it would not be okay to use a nitro or any kind of link package to an aged or other type of money site. It doesn't matter. We don't do that.
That's right.
We won't do that. I know Jenia won't do that. We do not link build directly to the money site. That's why we set up the SEO shield. It has a double purpose. It has the purpose of protecting you. The G site plus drive stack protects you so that we don't worry about Google updates, 1, and 2, it actually exponentiates the power that you push into that drive stack and G site. So no, we're not going to do that. Now you can do it as Bradley recommended, and as I'm recommending, which is link built into the drive stack, G site, incorporate everything that you have, all of your URLs into the drive stack and G site, press releases, tier 1, and everything else that you have. grab all that and link build to all of that. And yes, it should be done on a monthly basis. And no, it's not going to look unnatural, because the way that it's indexed, it's submitted several times during the month or however long it takes to get to the percentage of indexing that Daddy is usually looking for, which is 60% or more, or let's say over 50%. Once that's achieved, it's not necessary to keep indexing, right, over and over again, although it can be done. But as Bradley says, if you continue your link building, and if you can continue tiering your link building, it's not going to matter how many links fall off the index, because you're going to constantly be getting new ones. You're going to be getting tiered link building. It's all going to be powered up through that G site so that you get even more benefit. But once again, just to be perfectly clear about this, we will not do any link building into any money site.
Right there. So these are essentially what you can link build to directly to, because these are all tier 1 assets. Does that make sense? So we talk about syndication network URLs, press releases plus the organization page, drive stack plus the G site, including interpage URLs. It doesn't have to just be the home page, if that makes sense. Individual drive stack folders and files, the add ID or entity loop page, right? The GMB map, citations, top level citations you can build links to, embeds and link building to embeds. These are all things that you can build links to. And so that's why I said you've got plenty of opportunity here to put it through kind of a rotating schedule to where, and that's what, you know, you can take, if you were to separate each one of these components out, and you can do it that way, then this would give you what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus an embed and link building gig. So this would be 6 or 7 months worth of link building activities that could be done. And then you would just repeat that. So every one of them would get hit twice per year. But the idea is you're constantly powering up all your tier 1 assets so that you're not targeting any one specific thing over and over and over again, right? Because that looks odd. Instead, now you're powering up the whole entity and all of the tier 1 entity assets, and you're doing it on a consistent basis. So it's much more powerful that way, in my opinion. You're hitting it from from multiple angles. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay, so the next question is from Scott. What's up, Scott? He says, are any of your clients self-hosting? By self-hosting, I mean their website is hosted on their server, not a hosting service. I have a prospective client who says he has been self-hosting for 15 years. However, when I do a test on Whois Hosting This, the result, Whois Hosting This, the result says it is hosted by Logix and gives domain control locations, so name servers, with XX and YI as the substitutes for real numbers. My prospect is positive the hosting is on his server because he is not paying for hosting services. This is way out of my skill set. Any help is appreciated. I'm not a server guy. Chris and Marco would be better at that for me than me. I can assume domain control is just a name server type of service though. And so I think it could be hosted on his own service and be using a name server or DNS service for that. But I'm not 100% sure. Marco, can you shed some light on this?
Self-hosting, that's kind of old school. It's kind of cool. I wonder why really you would do that. I wonder why you would do that. Paying like $10 a month or $15 a month for hosting. I don't know. I'm not an expert either. I just find it funny.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because it's a lot of work to keep a server up, especially security. And not only that, I mean, I know that here I have to go through the ISP and make sure that my bandwidth it can support the service, especially if I'm planning to get a whole bunch of traffic, which when I do tests, bots go crazy. And so I need that kind of bandwidth. Logix, I think that's just a desktop app, Scott. It doesn't mean right that he doesn't have self-hosting. He's probably paying for the web app. I don't know if it's a paid service, but by Logix. But I am familiar with Logix, and it's just, I'm sorry, but it's a lot of work. The steps that it takes to do that, right? You have to register the domain like you do everywhere else, but you have to code the website in something, just whether like HTML, PHP probably. You have to get the IP address, point it at the computer, actually at the computer's IP, and if it's dynamic, you have to take care of that. Again, the ISP has to support hosting. Now, here's the thing: why would you have it? when the lights go out and he turns everything off, that server has to stay on, or like the website will go off for however long the guy's out. What if he's on vacation? What if there's a power outage?
Well, he's got to have somebody managing the server. If he doesn't even know, like if he can't help Scott tell Scott, like, you know, what's going, like he just says, oh, I've been hosting it for 15 years. Somebody's got to be managing that server. Somebody has.
You can do it on your computer. All you need is the AMP software, right? Apache, MySQL, and PHP. All you need is the web stack, and you can do it on your computer. But I'm telling you all the steps that it takes. Right. And then how are you supposed to do anything with that, Scott, if it's on the guy's computer? Do you have access to the guy's computer?
Well, he says hosted on their server, which I mean, again, I don't know. That could be a server sitting in their IT closet, or it could be a server somewhere else, right? Like at Rackspace or something, right?
Yeah, if that. But what I'm saying is it can even be the guy. It can be on a laptop. Sure. It can be on a desktop. It doesn't matter. You can install it. All you need is the software. But even after all that, I mean, you still have to install everything. You can even run WordPress off of your home computer. It depends on how far you want to go. But I mean, this question is, yeah, I mean, I've done it. I haven't done it in a long time because it's not necessary anymore. But why does this guy insist on doing that? And why would you want to even bother with something like this? I'm not sure. Okay, so yes, the question is, do we have any clients? No. And he's a prospective client for what? And what are you planning to do with it? And, you know, if you're going to need access to that, they would have to give you remote access so that you can get in there. Because I'm not even sure of what the final aim of this question is. It's just a whole bunch of shit involved. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I would just contact the client and ask him specifically, like, who is managing your server, like, and put me in touch with that person, whoever that is. If he says he's self-hosting, I promise somebody, it's probably not the client himself, like, you know, the business owner that you're talking to that's actually managing it. He may be, and if so, then he's got to be the go-to guy for anything that you need. But otherwise, if there's somebody else that's managing that set it up and is managing it on an ongoing basis, then I would say put me in touch with them for any sort of server access issues that you need, like cPanel or whatever it is. So anyways, that's what I would do. But yeah, I agree. I think that's sometimes you run into people that have overcomplicated issues, and I don't know that it's worth it. It really depends on how much you're getting paid. So Tom C., I read this while Marco was talking. This is pretty cool. Last week you asked if anyone has been watching since the beginning, because we're at episode 256 today. We're almost at our 5-year anniversary. In fact, what are we, 4 weeks away from that, right? I think so. Episode 260 would be 5 years. So we're damn close. And he says, last week you asked if anybody had been watching since the beginning. Since I couldn't watch live, I couldn't answer. So I thought I'd chime in today. I've started watching around episode 50 or so. Michael Bose was with you then. I haven't missed an episode since, even if, like last week, I have to catch a replay, which means I've watched roughly 200 hours of Hump Day Hangouts. Well, God bless you, man. At this point, it's like a weekly get-together with friends. Thank you for the weekly help. Yeah, that's really, really cool. And Tom, I appreciate you commenting on that. That's, awesome. Quite a commitment. So
drop us the name in the comments. We need to know who this is. We need to know. I mean, we have to know who it is. We're usually familiar with everyone who's in here asking questions and involved in the back and forth. So please drop your name.
Well, Tom might be one of the people that don't ask a lot of questions. Maybe he does. I'm not sure because of this new chat app. I don't know who the hell he is, who the hell these people are for the most part. But anyway, the fact that he commented and said he's been watching 200 hours again, you're a good man for that because that's a lot of listening to us. That's for sure. But that's awesome. Thanks for coming. Okay, this is a good one. Says, is there a list of required info to onboard clients for each of the MGYB offerings? If so, where can I find them? I don't think that we have that yet, but that's something that maybe somebody could take a note of this. I know we're continuing to develop out, well, I say we, but really Rob is continuing to develop out a lot of stuff for MGYB to make it better, like packages, for example. You guys know we've recently launched, like link building packages and embed packages, which is so much better because we got so many questions where people would say like, well, what should I do for this type of competition and that? So we've recently added that. Next thing we're doing that I know Rob is trying to get to is doing full on done for you packages, like where it's multiple services combined. So you buy it one time and you get the syndication network and the drive stack along with a press release and a embeds and add ID page or entity loop page, all those kind of things. So I know that that's coming. So this is something that we can absolutely add to our to-do list because I think that's a good thing to have, which would be kind of like, depending on what service you buy, like an onboarding form. I know there's the order form, but for a client, I understand I understand what you're getting at. Is there something that we could send them or some sort of form template that we could provide that you could build like a Google form, for example, that you could send to clients whenever you onboard them and have the clients input all the data that then you would just deliver to us at MGYB? Marco, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea, and I can talk to Rob about it. Is it the problem that we're in right now is that we only have one Caesar?
Yeah, well, I think Rob said we're gonna get another coder to help Caesar, correct?
We're going to try. We're going to see how we do that, but the problem is also that the information that we need is different per product, right?
Right.
And so you could go and you order the product as you need it and submit the information. Because, for example, the ad ID is something that you can't ask the client for the information beforehand, because it requires the build at the time when you order it. Or maybe you can go ahead and beforehand do the S3 and everything that's required. But again, it's different per product. So what can we do? We could probably create a PDF of what you're going to need for every product. I can tell you that that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think, I mean, that's a good idea, but even something that could be done. And again, it's not going to be at the top of the priority list, but I do think that it's a good idea, which would be to maybe even do like, you said a PDF, but even like create a Google form that could be copied. In other words, you could share it with somebody or they could request to make a copy of it that then they would, add to their drive, which then they would have a spreadsheet that the responses would go to and everything, to where they could just forward that to their client or embed that on a page on your own website and send your clients to the page on the website to fill out the form, if that makes sense. That's something.
Yes, but it's different Google forms per product.
Per product, right. But I'm saying we only have the main, I'm talking about doing it first for like the entity loop, for example, or syndication network, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I agree. It's not something that's going to get done immediately because we're trying to roll out the packages, but I think it's a good idea. So I appreciate you.
It's a great idea. Rob already has it. We'll incorporate it into the list of things to do, which keeps growing longer and longer. Yep.
So Mike's up. He says, "Hi everyone. Is it a good idea to buy a couple of different domain names for a local service area, and how can I use it for SEO benefits? For example, money site with branded domain name and more exact keyword domain names. Can you please share a sort strategy, if there is, on how to use it? Thanks." No, I don't recommend that anymore, Mike. Years ago, yes, we did all kinds of stuff like that years ago. I mean, we would just buy different domains that we would use for redirecting purposes to the main site, and then do crazy things to that the redirect domain, right? There's a lot of things we used to do. I'm not even going to talk about them because they're irrelevant now. They really aren't. They really are. But another strategy we would do would be to build out kind of like mini PBNs on exact match domains that would point to the branded domain, because we would add relevancy that way and use them for link building and that kind of stuff. But again, I don't recommend doing that, because you have to know how to exact match domains aren't really useful in my opinion anymore. I know some people would argue with me, but I prefer a branded domain name. And I also don't recommend building PBNs unless you're like one of our mastermind members, Dean, who is incredibly good at it, which requires a lot of time and effort to do it correctly, and build real traffic into sites that you're going to be using to link back to your own sites. And you got to hide your footprint and all that. And we got away from doing that. And we use our entity loop properties, like create the entity loop, which becomes the SEO firewall, which is all using basically free resources you know, like Google Sites and Drive Stacks and Amazon S3 pages and things like that, and then do all kinds of link building stuff to those and push relevancy and power that way. So again, I don't recommend buying exact match domains for a specific business or, you know, related domains and stuff like that anymore. There are other people out there and other methods that teach how to do stuff like that. If you're interested in that kind of thing, it's just not something that we would recommend.
If you're going to put that much time and effort into something, do it on a G site and Drive Stack.
That's right.
Expand the Drive Stack both vertically and horizontally, I taught in the charity webinars and in the entity webinar that we talked about. Guys, again, Drive Stacks and G sites are some of the most powerful things that you can do for SEO right now. It hasn't changed in the 4-something years that we've been doing it. It's not going to change into the near future, probably midterm either. I don't see it. I just don't see how. Probably it could be done at the flip of a switch tomorrow, but I just don't see it happening because of the kinds of companies and educational places that use the G sites plus Drive Stack. So why not take advantage of that while it's available? All you have to do is go to mgyb.co, order the Drive Stack, order I call it with the G site, and then you expand it. I teach exactly how it's done for a donation to my charity, and it's that simple. It's simple in that the concept is simple. You still have to do the work. Whether you do it PBN, if you want to do it right, the way that Dean does it, you have to put in the work. There's no magic pill in this business. If you want something to last, you're gonna have to put in the work. And what I recommend for what you're trying to do is you have that branded domain, then go into that branded Drive Stack plus G site and expand it.
There you go. Okay, so Mike says, another question, please, about URL structure. Which one is better? He says site.com/city/service-type or site.com/service-type-in-city. Thank you. Well, I'm going to recommend the second type or the second version of the URL. And the reason why I say that is because if you're trying to do it the first way, if you're going to target different cities with the same service type, which I'm assuming you would, it's going to create URL structure issues, right? You can still do it, but WordPress used to automatically append a -2 for, like, in this case, service type, right? So let's just say plumbing. So let's say site.com/city1, and we'll just use Culpeper, right? That's where I live, Culpeper, Virginia. And then there's another city adjacent to us called Warrenton, right? So Warrenton. And let's say I was building a site for a plumber that serviced both Culpeper and Warrenton. So if I did, you know, joesplumbing.com/ or, you know, whatever, we'll call it joesplumbing.com/Culpeper/ drain cleaning, for example. And then joesplumbingservice.com/Warrenton/ drain cleaning. Then automatically Google used to append a -2. And just recently, I noticed that now they'll actually change it to include the category URL name, or so it would say Joe's. If the first one that you would create was Culpeper, right? So it would be under the category of Culpeper. So that's where the city, right? So Culpeper, then it would say /drain-cleaning. But the second time you would try to create that drain cleaning service type underneath a separate category, it would automatically append the category to the URL. So it would end up being Joe's Plumbing Service or joesplumbing.com/Warrenton/ drain-cleaning-Warrenton. Does that make sense? So you end up over optimizing the URL. And it could have just been the plugin, because I was showing this as an example the other day, a couple weeks ago now, for our Semantic Mastery Mastermind webinar. And I was showing how they used to do the dash, you know, it would do like a -2, -3 for each time you would try to duplicate that service type underneath another category. It would always append the next integer. However, it could have, like I said, it could have been the SEO plugin that I was using, or something that was appending the category name to the URL instead of -2, or it could have been a WordPress core change. I haven't proved that either way. But my point is it creates a URL issue because you can't duplicate the same URL slug underneath different categories, right? It has to be a unique slug at all times. So in my opinion, you're better off using just the post type, post name permalink structure if you're using WordPress, and I'm assuming you are, and then going with the second version here that you're talking about, right? So it would be site.com/service type, and I wouldn't put -in-city. I would put just -city because you can omit those, what they're called stop words, like in, of, to, the. Those are all type stop words, and I don't typically include those in the URL. The shorter the URL, the better. If that makes sense. So that would be my recommendation. It was a good question. Boardwalk says, I am just starting out and wondering, how do you determine what to charge a client so I'm not undervaluing myself or overpricing a client? Hey, Hernan, don't we have a arbitrage spreadsheet somewhere?
What do you mean?
An SEO services arbitrage spreadsheet and our SEO services calculator.
Yeah, we do. Actually, let me. Yeah, I think I'll need to find it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we have it somewhere.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I know we have we've created a spreadsheet where you can kind of input the cost of services and then input your markup, and it will, or percentage of markup, and it'll tell you what to charge clients. And that's something, and you also should be a section in there for your, what you feel you should be making on an hourly basis, if you can calculate the hours involved. And honestly, if you're just starting out, it's going to take a while to learn your own productivity. Like, in other words, to be able to know how long it's going to take you to do things. It's going to take you some time to kind of refine that. So when you first start out, you're going to likely undercharge customers, or you may overcharge customers. If you overcharge customers and you're unable to produce results, you will likely lose those customers. If you undercharge customers, then I think you're going to find out that you're working too hard for not enough money. And you could always go back to the client at that time and ask for more money, or explain that you need to raise your rates, that kind of stuff. It's difficult to determine how long it's going to take you to accomplish things when you first start out. It's just going to be kind of a trial and error thing. But as far as what I would recommend is trying to find reputable sources, fulfillment sources. Again, MGYB, if you understand how to put the components together that we sell, then you don't have to do the work yourself, or even really learn how to build all of those components. You can if you'd like, but you're better off, in my opinion, just purchasing them from a done-for-you services that is reputable, a good third-party provider, and marking it up. And I will always recommend a minimum of 100% markup. So, but more like 200% markup is about, and it depends on what you're selling too. And I know Marco would probably have a different opinion. He's going to say, give it 1,000% markup. And there's some validity to that, in my opinion. But for example, with syndication networks, I know what my costs are through my virtual assistants. Even when I first started out and I first trained when I first learned how to delegate and outsource the stuff, I hired 2 virtual assistants and trained them how to build syndication networks. That later became Syndication Academy, the product. And I knew what it would cost me. And let's just say it cost me, $75 for a VA to build. And it wasn't that exact number. It was close to that. But let's say it cost me $75 to have a syndication network built by one of my virtual assistants. I was charging, when I first started out, I was charging about $500 to sell a syndication network to a local business. Now, to this day, and I have for several years, I probably should mark it up, but I sell them for $700 now. And I have for the last, I think, 3 years. So, and because of, you guys can get syndication networks, I still think it's $75 for a branded syndication network from MGYB. So that's my point. You could do in that case, it would be what, 1,000% markup, 10 times, right? So you buy it for 75, but you sell it for 750. Does that make sense? That's 1,000% markup. For things like Google Stacks and Drive Stacks and G Sites, they're so fucking powerful, man. If you go and buy the whole lot of it, it's going to cost you close to $500, I think. And you could mark that up easily to, you know, $1,000, $1,500, 2 or 3 times of what it is, because it's so powerful, if that makes sense. So that's what I would recommend doing, is figuring out what services you're going to use to get results, marking it up. You know, unless you're doing it manually yourself, in which case, you know, you've got to determine what your time is worth, and then figure out how much time you're going to spend developing those components out for that client, if that makes sense, and then charge accordingly. So I know you guys want to comment on that one. That was a good question.
Yeah, I see it a little bit differently. Like you could do it that way. But if I'm talking to a lawyer, and which I was recently, and I know that someone coming in the door and signing that piece of paper for that lawyer to represent them was worth $100,000 to the lawyer. So my math is really simple. I know what the cost or what that lead is worth to the client. All I had to do was determine how many leads I could provide this client, and then I want a percentage of that, so that I can come back to the attorney and say, because if that client is worth 100K to him and I know what I'm going to have to invest, then I'm going to want some part of it, because it's worth that much. I mean, imagine that, 100,000 or more in the door. So that's how I figure it out. So that if it's $2.50 and I have to provide 10,000 closed leads for this person to sell, what, 25K, and then I want to percent the work that I'm going to have to do to get that is probably more than I care to put into that project. But that's roughly how I figure it out. I want to know what a lead is worth to that client. So if it's a dentist, a lawyer, whatever it is, tourism, dentistry, you name it, cosmetic surgery, I want to know what that lead is worth in the door and closed, so that I'm going to determine what I charge. It's not going to be for the work that I do, because I know how much work I'm going to put in it. I don't care about the hours that I'm going to put in it. I just know what my work is going to be worth to that client, and he's going to pay me for that. Just like that person putting that foot inside that lawyer's office and signing that piece of paper knows what he's going to pay for that lawyer, because you're going to that lawyer for a reason. You're going to that plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills for a reason. You're not just paying for the service. If you were paying for the service, you'd go to Mexico and get the plastic surgery and get the corrective surgery, whatever it is that you want to do, and pay a whole lot less. You're coming to this guy because there's a specific service that he provides that you want. When you get to that point, so I guess my point is, there's a whole different tiers, right, of what you can charge, between the way that you figure it out, maybe the way that the arbitrage calculator is set up, and the way that I do it. There's just so many ways that you can charge a client. There's no certain way, right? There's no sure way, but my way has always worked for me.
All right, so the last two are just comments. Scott says, thanks for the answer about hosting. I will contact the client about how I will be logging in to add pages and access the site. So there you go, Scott. Hopefully that was helpful. Tom says, thanks, guys. I've asked several questions over the years under the old system. Tom Clark just signed up under the current system today. That's awesome, Tom. Again, thank you for hanging out with us every week for 200 plus episodes. That's quite a feat. And Mike Purr says, thanks, Bradley. You're welcome. All right, guys. That was perfect fucking timing. It's like we planned it.
4 years for Tom. That's incredible. Thanks, man. 4 years.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
All right, guys. Yeah, Tom, you should be coming to POFU Live so you can meet us in person. Had to throw that in there.
Yeah, well,
right,
I'll
guys.
do one more. If you haven't yet, now's the time. Grab your ticket, pofulive.com. We're going to be headed out there next week and start the event, VIP Day on Friday and the Real Deal on Saturday.
Yeah, so that's VIP Day is Friday the 10th, I believe, and Saturday the 11th is the start of the actual POFU Live training event. So we'll see you guys there. Take it easy. Bye, guys.
Hey, guys.
Bye, everyone.